Hey y'all, we are back and stronger than ever. Maybe. Actually, I'm really sore. I'm not strong at all. I literally found out yesterday how weak I am. Yeah, my muscles is very weak. I'm not strong at all physically. But I would like to carry on with our book, The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. Any Lynn Painter book, I think, is absolutely stunning. And I think all Lynn Painter books kind of have that enemies to friends to lovers kind of vibe. Because I know better than the movies is enemies to lovers. And then I don't know about betting on you. I've actually been really invested in betting on you. Just haven't read it yet. And The Do-Over, which I am now reading. And then there's Nothing Like the Movie. So those are four Lynn Painter books that I really want to read for Lynn Painter books that are very popular on Book Talk and book social media. So I really want to read those. I think I've mentioned this before, but I do have Better Than the Movies on my bookshelf beside me right now. I actually got the special edition version too, and I actually got it for a pretty good price. So yeah, I don't know if all of her books are like enemies to lovers, but I think that's her vibe, like enemies to lovers or friends to lovers or enemies to friends to lovers. Something like that. She just gives off that vibe. Her books just give off that vibe. Better Than the Movies give off that vibe. But yeah. Also, I want to do a Q&A because I feel like I haven't given y'all any solid information about myself. And so y'all don't really know me. And if I'm going to be reading a book with y'all, to y'all, for y'all, I feel like there should be some understanding of who I am as a person. So yeah, I might do a Q&A at the end of this episode, or I might do it right now. I'm not really sure what the plan is. But yeah, I'm also like kind of busy today. I know I said that last time too, and that's why we didn't really get as far. But also these chapters are getting long, so maybe one chapter per episode. I'm not really sure, but we need to finish up chapter 8 and possibly start chapter 9. So that's what we're gonna do today. Yeah, I think I'll do a Q&A right now, just only because I have kind of limited time. So I just want to make this, I'm going to make this as like quick as possible, and then we're going to get reading. But yeah. Okay, so Q&A question number 1. I might do like 5 of these. Okay, Q&A question number 1. These are just like basic general questions. I'll also post a community post on my YouTube channel, just basically being like, hey, like, what are some questions y'all have for me as a reader and as a an editor? If y'all don't know, I have a YouTube channel called Book Talk Audiobooks, and I basically make a bunch of edits of my favorite books, and yeah, so y'all should check that out. But yeah. Anyways, so Q&A question number 1. What is your favorite book? My favorite book. I don't have a favorite book. I have a favorite book series. But I don't even know if I have a favorite book series, because there have been so many books in my life that have just been so meaningful. But one that really stuck out to me this past year that I read was The Inheritance Games. I finished the trilogy within 3 months, which was the fastest I had ever finished any book series. And it was absolutely shocking to me, because I actually read almost every day. And not only did I read almost every day, I read 30 pages almost every day, I was very, very invested in the book. And then I think when I got to the end of all 3 books, I just kind of, after, like, I picked up the book and realized I was close to being done, so I ended up just finishing it right then and there. So that one has a special place in my heart because it got me back into reading. And so that was nice. The Land of Stories is also absolutely spectacular. Very underrated in my opinion. I read it like a long time ago. I finished the series within the span of 5 years, which is actually crazy because I read like a book per year. And, you know, I think at that time I was not like a very fascinated reader, which is why it took me like a year to finish those books. Now I think it would take me a lot less. I think it might take me 6 months to do that, because the Inheritance Games books are also about that sort of thing, like 300 to 400 pages long. So yeah, but and the Land of Swords also have like really long chapters, which I didn't mind when I was younger, and now I mind a lot. Which I think is what got me through the Inheritance Game so fast, because it was a new chapter every 2-3 pages, which was absolutely amazing. so yeah. Next question. What is my favorite author? Or who is my favorite author? My bad. Who is my favorite author? I don't have one. Personally, I don't have one, because books have a special place in my heart, and I think there are going to be many books that have special places in my heart. So it'll be very difficult to choose an author. But I would genuinely say the authors of my favorite books and favorite book series, because they've definitely done some magic in my life. So probably that. Third question. If you could teleport to any book universe, what would it be? See, I haven't read that many popular book talk books, and the Inheritance Games and then the book that I read before that were pretty not, you know, it wasn't they weren't fantasy. And so they were just kind of books about life, right? It was realistic fiction. But I am reading Powerless too. Powerless kind of scares me because it gives Hunger Games vibes, but way more interesting and fun with different elements in it. But I don't think I would last very long in the Powerless universe. Elia, I would not last in Elia. I would not last in the slums like Peyton, and I would be terrified for my life if I was an ordinary. So yeah, that's that. That's that is that. That's that. So yeah. Okay. Fourth question. How many books are on my bookshelf? Okay, so the average person has 15. I have less than that on my bookshelf, but my bookshelf is not the biggest bookshelf in the world. It has about 4 shelves. It has about 4 shelves. And so 4 shelves of books. But I only have the bottom shelf is full of books. And then the shelf above that is candles. The shelf above that are other books. And then the top shelf is just stuff that I need to organize. So I think I have... Oh, I also have Reckless, too. I have Powerless and Reckless, Once Upon a Broken Heart, Ballad of Never After, Better Than the Movies, the Inheritance Games trilogy, and If He Had Been With Me. So I think that's like how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, and then I have Hook, Line, and Sinker. So 10, I think. Maybe, if I counted that right. If the math is mathing. But okay, I just moved the box that was covering it. So let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10. 10. Yeah. And Better Than the Movies is the only special edition book that I own, unfortunately. Yeah. I saw the If He Had Been With Me special edition, and I really want it because it's such a happier, lighter, you know, it's lightweight, like it gives like the darkness, the sadness, the depression, the suffering, and like all of the negative emotions is just not visible in the new special edition cover. It is actually so beautiful in so many different ways. But I don't think I'll be purchasing that because I already read it and have the regular version. So yeah. Okay, anyways, we should start reading because I spent 10 minutes yapping. So sorry about that, guys. I thought it was going to be fast, but as a yapper, nothing's ever really fast. So yeah. Okie dokie. So we left off on page 65, I believe, and I'm just going to read the last paragraph before our pause. Yeah, because just to give some context, background info, and all that. Mr. Bong went back to his lecture, and when I glanced at Nick, he was shaking. Oh my gosh, sorry guys, my mouse was moving, was like on top of the word, okay. Anyways, Mr. Bong went back to his lecture, and when I glanced at Nick, he was shaking his head and clearly trying to hold in a laugh. I shook my head, but the mischief in his face made it impossible not to smile a little. What the heck? They are so cute. They just need to get together already. That's telepathy. That's amazing. Their chemistry is absolutely amazing. Okay, anyways. Okay. Long story short, my car got towed. I looked at Chris in disbelief as he put on his coat and slammed his locker. On top of everything, of all the tragedies of that god-awful day, Chris had no car with which to drive us home. I said, So we're walking home, I guess, because Rox is already gone and my parents are both in meetings. Ugh, I groaned. I cannot believe this day. I checked and the wind is chill. What? Sorry, guys. Okay. I checked and the wind chill is just south of 10 degrees. So yeah, this is gonna blow. You guys need a ride? I closed my eyes and heard the voice. Of course, Nick Stark was there. Why wouldn't he be? He was everywhere that day. I opened my mouth to give him a big old no thanks when Chris said over my shoulder at a near squeal, For real? I turned in time to see Nick shrug and say to Chris, Sure, you ready know how, or what? You ready now? Oh, you ready now, or I have to do something first, I interrupted, giving Chris a look. I have to, run something to the North Hall meeting room really fast. Chris rolled his eyes, catching on to what I was up to. I just want to go home, Em. I need to find Josh first. I'll be quick. I held up a finger at them, turned, and started speed walking down the hall toward the meeting room, but they followed me. Over my shoulder, I said, You don't have to go with me. I can meet you in the car. Nah, we want to, Nick said, giving me a smart look as they kept walking with me. Can't you go over to his house later? Chris sighed dramatically and added, like a normal human being on Valentine's Day? I just have to give him his gift before I go. We reached the meeting room, which was where a mock trial did their thing. I took a deep breath. 1 minute and I'll be ready. Chris rolled his eyes. I knew I was acting desperate, but really, I was desperate. I gestured for them to move and give me a little space, but they weren't budging. Fine. I pulled open the door and put my head inside. People were sitting at the multiple tables, talking, and I squinted as I scanned Josh for the room. I was almost ready to give up when I noticed the back of his head, sitting at a table on the other side of the room. I was a little surprised by the bubble of rage that blurred inside of me at the sight of his curly hair. That outing with Macy was too fresh, but we were going to do the damn thing, love thing, if it killed me. Josh! I yelled. Psst! Josh! He didn't hear me, but Owen Collins, one of Josh's I purport myself to be a college professor friends did. He stood and said, Joshua, you are being paged by your girlfriend, which made every single head swing around in my direction. Can we go, please? Chris muttered from behind me. 1 sec, I said, as Josh walked across the room and toward me. This is so romantic, I heard Nick mutter, sounding like he thought anything but. Chris giggled. Hey, Em, Josh looked at me. What's up? I have your present. I held up the wrap box and smiled. I thought maybe we could do our exchange really quickly before I go. I don't have your present with me. Josh glanced behind him and then said to me, and I really have to go. But don't you have to work after this? I tucked my hair behind my ears, anxious to convince him because I desperately needed to turn the day around, so February 15th was a possibility. I really want to give you your gift today. Desperate much? Chris said, and I knew he was right, even as I kicked out my leg and struck his shin. I knew he was right, but I still had to try. Maybe my I love you utterance would change everything. Listen, Josh said, not even bothering to hide his annoyance this time. I don't know what this is, but I'll talk to you later. I have to go. Okay, wait. Well, I just wanted to tell you that I love chicken. Nick pulled open the door, making me stumble backward, and he popped up beside me. She loves chicken, and thought you, her boyfriend, should probably know that. Josh looked back and forth between Nick and me before saying, Who even are you? Nick smiled. I'm Nick. I pushed Nick out of the doorway. I don't love chicken. Look, I have to go, Em. We'll talk later. He walked away, and I saw Owen looking at me like I was a pathetic, clingy loser, which I was. I turned around, and Nick was leaning against the wall and shaking his head, and Chris was staring at me with his mouth wide open. I could not decide whether to hug you after you humiliated yourself so badly, or kick your butt. Please, I said, turning away from the mock child door and walking into his chest. Kick my butt. Chris wrapped his arms around me, and I buried my face in his hoodie. I said, there, and patted my head for 5 seconds before saying, Now get off and let's go before our ride ditches us. I do need to go, Nick said, and Chris gave him directions to our houses as he walked down the hall and exited the building. I had humiliated myself, and I knew I was forcing things, but I was right. I was right about Josh and about love and how to break out of this time loop. The only upside was that I'd probably be waking up the same day again tomorrow, as every attempt to change the day I had resulted in a train wreck. So at least it would be forgotten, and I'd get my do-over. Dun dun dun. As we buckled up, Chris in the middle this time, he asked, Is everything okay, I shrugged and clicked the bell at my place. I just really wanted us to have a big Valentine's moment. I say you succeeded, Nick said, putting his truck in first before pulling out of the parking lot spot. Shut it, I replied. I'm not going to say anything bad about Joshua because I respect that you like him, but don't you think he was kind of prickish to you just now? Chris glanced over at me and I said, I mean, yes, you were acting oddly, but he was a bit of a tool. I glanced over at Nick as I quietly said to Chris, maybe we can talk about this later. Oh, come on, Emma. Chris gestured towards Nick and said, after he witnessed that pathetic display of lovesick tomfoolery, I'd say he's fine to be with grandfathered into the discussion. Did you talk to Alex today? I asked. Nice subject change, Chris said to Nick, and then he said to me, and of course I did. I'm not a wishy-washy little baby. Guys, the swearing is swearing. Chris had a crush on Alex Lopez for months now. They were friends. They both ran cross country, so they knew each other pretty well. But Chris was afraid of ruining their friendship by asking Alex out. He decided that on Valentine's Day, he was going to see if Alex wanted to hang out. The plan was to pull one of those Valentine's Day is lame when you're single, so since we're both single and alone, do you want to get pizza and watch old movies kind of thing. I gasped, You seriously did it? He smiled, and a little secret smile, and said, I stumbled into it. At first, I totally choked, but then he said he felt like a loser for having no plans. So, he left me the perfect opening. That's amazing, I laughed, as his face transformed into a happy sunlight. Chris liked to act too cool, like all the time, but he was one of the more vulnerable people I knew underneath it all. So, what are you going to wear? No. He held up a hand and shook his head. I'm not ready for the stress yet. Can we just take a moment to picture his adorable face, like when Alex is all serious about a topic and goes off, the combo of intensity and boyish cuteness is just too much. I nodded. He was so right. I know exactly what you're talking about. Last year, I had him in Halleck's American government class, and after he popped off on Ellie Green, because, well, she was super Ellie-ish, I was obsessed with him for days. Adorable plus intense equals holy crap. Right? He was beaming again, and I was so happy for him. Chris had been my best friend since we both got fake notes to miss swimming our freshman year. We assumed we'd be able to just sit out, but Coach Stroud made us stand on the side of the pool and do strokes with our hands on dry land. I would have died of mortification by myself, but Chris made it into choreography. I laughed so hard at his ludicrous dances that we both earned detentions. We spent the rest of the drive to Chris's discussing Alex Lopez's greatness, and Nick was quiet. I was making all sorts of internal judgments about his silence until he said to Chris as he pulled onto the street, "Just make sure you let him see the real you, and then the guy doesn't stand a chance." "Who are you, Nick Stark?" Chris teased. "I haven't talked to you since 2nd grade Cub Scouts, and now here you are acting like some kind of hot, grumpy Cupid. You shut up right now." Chris started laughing, and so do I. "I can't believe either of you were in Cub Scouts. I'll have you know, I was the best nodder in the squad," Chris said, unzipping the outside pouch of his backpack and pulling out his keys. "Pack," Nick corrected, slowing as Chris's house approached. "Pack," Chris repeated, rolling his eyes and shaking his head to me. "Thanks for the ride, Nick," Chris said when we pulled into his driveway. I opened the door and got out so he could go get... Oh my God, cannot speak. I opened the door and got out so he could get past me, and I wondered why Nick hadn't dropped me off first. It seemed like he'd have to backtrack now, but maybe Nick had to go somewhere in the direction of my house or something. Maybe he had a hot older girlfriend who lived by me, and he was heading over to her to pick her up. Despite his being witness to the most mortifying moments of my life today, he was still practically a stranger. When I got back in and closed the door, Chris gestured for me to roll down my window. "You sure you okay?" he asked, turning his lips down like he was worried. "That stunt with Josh was not very like you. I don't know. I really had my heart set on perfect Valentine's Day this year, so I might have forced things." "You think?" Chris said. I wanted to tell him that I love him, but then Nick... "No," Chris snapped. "Ruined it." "I don't think I was what ruined it," Nick said from behind the wheel. Chris said, "You're joking, right? You were going to say the L word?" Why was he saying it like I was out of my mind? "I'm totally serious." His eyes got huge, and he shook his head back and forth. No, you don't love him." "Yes, I do." "How long have you been even going out with him? Isn't it a little too soon?" 3 months today, actually." 3 months. His eyes shot over Nick and then back to me. "Today." "Yep." His eyebrows went all the way up. "Don't you think this is a little convenient?" "What do you mean?" He said, "Okay, here you are, Little Miss Planner, Little Miss To-Do List. As long as I've known you, you've been obsessed with everything fitting into neat little boxes that you can check off." "What's wrong with that?" "Nothing." He gave me a sweet face and said, "I think your compulsive needs for control is adorable. But don't you think saying I love you on your 3-month anniversary that happens to be on a love holiday is just a little too penciled in the date?" I felt myself blush. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. "Don't you need to go to your house now?" "Fine, I'll shut up," he said. "If you want to, I love the crap out of him, just call him later." I rolled my eyes and waited before he turned and ran up to the steps, and into his house. Nick put the truck in reverse and backed out, and just as he put it in first, he said, "You know you don't love him, right?" "What?" I looked at his profile and said, "How would you know?" "How would you not know?" he said. "I'm not having this conversation with you," I said, annoyed. Thank God I lived close to Chris and was almost home already. "Well, you should have it with someone," he glanced over at me. "You're saying the L word, but a few hours ago you were hiding behind plans to see if he was cheating on you." "That's not what I was..." "Crap," he said. "It's not I lied. I was just waiting for him." Nick braked in front of my house, pulling the car over the curb. He shoved it in neutral, pulled up the parking brake, and turned to face me. "Even if that were true, and we both know it's not, the vibe between you and your boyfriend was awkward and polite. It was tense and weird. For God's sake, it wasn't love." Why do you care? I said, almost crying now. I was tired of repeating days, of thinking that Josh, of Macy, and of Nick acting like he knew everything about me and my relationship. His face was unreadable. I don't. But did he? He looked so serious that it made my stomach feel flittery. I grabbed my bag and said, "Good. Thanks for the ride. Anytime." Whew. That was okay. Anyways, we'll debrief later, guys. Okay. Inside, I went straight to my room, hoping to maybe just avoid the promotion discussion with my father entirely. Unfortunately, he came up right after me and told me the good news while tussling with Joel on my bed, tickling the kid, and putting on a glorious display of fatherly love that I found to be terribly depressing. As if that wasn't enough, he and Lisa talked about Texas all through dinner. The things they could do there, the suburbs where they would hope to find a house, the restaurants they hoped to find frequent, the touristy things the boys would love, Valentine's Day dinner. The night was apparently sponsored by the Texas Travel Commission. By the time I was ready to go to sleep, I was totally dejected. Josh hadn't called or texted, so I stood in front of my bedroom window and made a wish upon a star, just like I was 7, wishing for my parents to stay married. Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I might have this wish I wish tonight. I stared out the brightest star I could find, narrowed my eyes, and said, I wish I could have the perfect Valentine's Day and make this loop end. I climbed into bed, hopeful, but realistic. I hadn't made it the perfect day. Not even close. But perhaps I only needed to fix, one thing. I mean, technically, I prevented Josh from cheating on me, so that had to count, right? As I climbed under my covers, though, an image of me in his front seat, squeezed behind him, and Macy and Nick, while my boots smelled like Fritos, popped into my head. Yeah, that prevention probably didn't count for much. Okay, so I'm kind of lazy, and I'm a very lazy person, and I know I did not give you guys what y'all deserved, because I spent the first 10 minutes on a Q&A, and now I've only read the second half of a chapter, which was just 9 pages. So sorry about that. But I am very lazy today, and I have stuff that I'm planning today. It is also the Saturday after Valentine's Day, which I am kind of bummed about, because whenever I read something about a holiday, I usually read it before the holiday and then hopefully wanting to finish it on the holiday, because reading it after the holiday just makes it so it's just a different vibe that the vibe's not vibing anymore at that time. So yeah, but basically I ship Emily and Nick because they are so cute, and Nick, he knows Emily does not like Josh, does not love Josh, I should say, actually. And I know she thinks that, if I say I love you and whatever, the loop will end. But at the same time, maybe the loop is to make sure that, maybe the loop is to make sure, she realizes her, self-worth and realizes that Josh is not the one for her. And, I think the loop is to make her realize that she doesn't love Josh and that she doesn't like Josh. I mean, he is literally cheating on her with Macy or whatever, and, she's known that, and she's going to know that every time she wakes up on this loop again. So I think what she needs to do to get out of the loop is to break up with Josh and maybe slowly hanging out with Nick more, realizing she might have feelings for Nick, that kind of stuff. But yeah. But no, their chemistry is chemistrying, and I feel like every loop we get is more Emily and Nick content we get. So I'm not really complaining about the loop. The loop actually got them talking and maybe them being friends. I think that could be another reason why the loop was placed. And this is like 20 minutes because I spent the first 10 minutes yapping and now I'm spending the last 10 minutes yapping. So I didn't really read much, but I am just really, really tired and I don't know if I can read the first half because this chapter is actually 20 pages. And 10 pages is like a lot for me. There is a little pause on this page, but yeah, there's also like a lot of swearing. Okay, sorry, I skipped to page 84 and I see spoiler. Okay, right, spoiler. But all I read is, he reached out a hand, tugged lightly on a piece of hair that had come out of my ponytail, and he said, "Frick him, Emily," and then he walked away. What? What? Without context, that sounds fascinating. But that is actually crazy. But yeah, I'm really tired, and I'm super duper sore. And yeah, so I'll stop yapping. I'm a yapper, so I am. But yeah, and like I said, she doesn't get out of the loop until chapter 10 or 11. I think it's 11. Because Confession 9 is another Valentine's Day. What was Confession 8 or chapter 8? Because I feel like this chapter 9 is her third time? Is it not her third time? Oh my gosh, yes it is. Okay, so we have yet another Valentine's Day, and then another Valentine's Day, and then yet another godforsaken Valentine's Day. So I think when did the loop start? 7? No, 6. 6. I think the loop started on 6. Or she realized the loop on 6. Yeah? Maybe? Yeah, or maybe even 5. Gosh, she's in this loop like 5 times. I'm guessing. I don't know. Because chapter 8's yet another Valentine's Day. Chapter 9's another Valentine's Day. And then chapter 10 or 11 says yet another godforsaken Valentine's Day. And then I think after that one, she gets out of the loop. Hopefully she breaks up with Josh. Josh is toxic. Like, honestly, like, whenever there's, like, a first, like, couple in books or movies, I just feel like they just don't last. They don't last ever. Like, when there's, like, a book or a movie and the background knowledge is that these two characters are dating and, like, it just doesn't work out. Unless they're, like, they have, like, a really strong and tight bond, or unless they're, like, married or something. But other than that, they don't work because there's no chemistry between them, and they need to have chemistry to work throughout the series. So then they break up, and then you finally see, like, an actual chemistry developing between these other two characters and stuff like that. So I kind of knew it was not going to work with Josh because we don't have any background info about him and about Emily, about their love story. But now we're getting the chemistry between Emily and Nick, which I'm not mad about. And I feel like they're, like, kind of opposites in a way. Like, they give, like, Black Cat, Golden Retriever. She gives Golden Retriever, he gives Black Cat. I think it's supposed to be opposite usually, but that's just my observations. But, yeah, anyways, I am also really tired. It has been a week. That's all I'm gonna say. It's been a week. Anyways, yeah. I hope y'all have an amazing Amazing morning, afternoon, night, day, week, month, year. I think I nailed all of those. Okay, yeah. So, but no, I really hope everybody has such an amazing future ahead of them. And yeah, I will see you guys next Saturday. This is also like the perfect Valentine's Day book, but by next week, it's Valentine's Day. It's just gonna be so irrelevant. I really feel bad, but like I said, I've not read my own Powerless in such a long time. So I might actually finish this book before continuing Powerless. But yeah. Anyways, bye. Bye. Yeah, that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. Bye. Also, I will post my YouTube channel link in the description. I think that's what it's called, the description. So yeah. Anyways, bye.